Hopefully everything's working this time. Right. Definitely lost about 5 people there. Oh. So yeah, if anybody does see this at a later date, what happened was the laptop was set to GoPro webcam, and I had changed it because the GoPro doesn't do anything. Um, wasn't actually, it doesn't even work on the webcam, so I did set it off that setting. But when I'd clicked off and then clicked go live again, it reset to the GoPro setting. And when I was trying to click on the webcam, it told me I didn't have permission. So that's what happened with that. So apologies about that. I was going to start with an apology that the time was later than I'd originally said anyway, and now it's even later than it was going to be already. So yeah, apologies about that. So if anyone is catching up on this and not watching it live, it was going to be a daily update anyway, and I just thought I'd stick it on as a live and see if anybody joined in. So if anybody's here and wants to say hello in the comments, see who's here, and you can ask me any questions, nice questions about anything you want updating on, and I'll do my best to answer them. And then I've got a few things I wanted to update you on anyway. So the reason to do it as a live as well is I'm out of practice at the minute. I've gone from like picking up the GoPro every day and recording myself to not doing it for the most part. So I've picked it up the last few days to record a daily update, and I've been quite poorly. You can probably still hear I'm a little bit poorly still. It's just the flu, I think, man flu or something. I get poorly like once a year. So when I'm poorly, although this year I think a good 3 times where I've been quite poorly, but I guess that's part and parcel of living on a boat. This most recent time, it was freezing one night, like freezing. I think it got to like -1, and yeah, then the next day I could feel it was coming, and then it's been like a good week now, but I think I'm getting towards the end of it. But because of that, I kept picking the GoPro up to record an update, and because I'm out of practice, I just get like in the middle of it and lose what I'm saying. So I need to get back into it. So the reason I've done it as a live is because then I won't just watch the video back and think, no, I'm not uploading that, because I'm just going to have to say it live. Will I regret that? Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, it's one of the updates. I've been a little bit poorly. So with that, obviously, if you're poorly on a boat in the winter, and it is the Med, so I'm always careful to say how cold it is here, because I know anybody watching from England or various other places probably a lot colder than I am. But usually, if you're poorly, you'd put the radiators on or the fire on, and you'd warm up. And on a boat, when it's still cold, that's quite hard to do. But I am getting through the worst of it. If the light goes off, if it goes dark, it's because I'm in the usual spot where I spend most of my time for the last 2 months. And you just have to give me a second to like wave or clap to get it to come back on. And if I randomly start coughing and just walk over there to cough off camera, then I am still here. So if you see just the scenery behind me and you hear me coughing in the background, it's just because I didn't want to do it on camera, really. It won't be nice for anyone. So yeah, I was quite nervous to come on and do this. I don't know why. Again, maybe it's just because I'm out of practice. We've not done one for a while. And yeah, I've just not been recording for a while. So it's getting back into the swing of it. But yeah, update wise, the knee. Feel like I'm going to get a bit of grief for this, because everybody is absolutely right when they say I should have gone to the doctors straight away. One of my patrons actually had come to visit for the day. I used to work with them, and they saw me smash it off the front of the boat. And what had happened is, pulled the boat towards me, lost concentration, and if anybody noticed me nearly do it in the last episode that was on. The boat drifted away a bit. I wasn't concentrating, and in the last minute realised I couldn't pull the boat back, and I've just gone. I don't want to go in the water. I've jumped, and my knee was the first thing that hit. So really, I should have gone to the doctors when it happened. And I think I've explained briefly already that it was just the wanting to wait and see if it would be all right before going and spending loads of money on an X-ray to be told actually it's just a bit bruised, because by then you've got to pay for the X-ray regardless. And how it works in France is you've just got to pay for healthcare. If you're working and stuff, you're covered obviously usually through your work, so you get the money back. Because I'm not, would have been looking at like €300 minimum, I think, to go get an X-ray, and then they prescribe stuff that probably don't really need. I'm talking like I'm a doctor, but in an ideal world, obviously, yeah, I'd have gone and got it checked. The person who was, well, a few people had said, "Do you want me to take you to the hospital?" It's silly, really, but I was a little bit concerned if they did something and like made it so I was less able to move. Like if there was to put something on my leg and then I weren't able to get on and off the boat, and it was going to be a month, and I was just stuck on the boat. So for that reason, I thought I'd just wait and see how it went. And I'm still unsure. I felt like it was getting a bit better, and then last night the boat's a bit slippy when you've got like the dew. Is it the dew? What's it called? Where it's like the dew. I think it's the dew. And the deck on the night time gets quite slippy. And just as I was getting back on last night, I slipped just a tiny bit, but just enough to jerk my knee a little bit, and I felt a bit of a twinge. So other than that, I did attempt to do a little jog the other day just to see if it would go in front of each other, and it did. So I'm a bit unsure. So if anybody knows a bit more about knees, you can tell me I should go to the doctors, which I probably know I should do. But yeah, that's the update on the knee. So it does feel a lot better. I mean, it was always going to take a while to get better, but I'm quite lucky that I've been in here and not been out at anchor when that happened, because that would have been quite tough, I imagine, because for the first part, I struggled to bend it and stuff. But yeah, that's an update on the knee. I'm going to get to the boat update because I think that's probably what everybody wants to hear about. But before that, an episode explanation. I wrote all of this in a bit of a rush, and now I'm reading it thinking, what did I mean by episode explanation? What I will say is big thank you to everyone who's watched the most recent episodes. I wasn't aware for months of footage that the GoPro was broken, and then when I've got to editing them videos, the GoPro is broken. The microphone's broke on it, and it's not one that easily supports. You can get quite cheap microphones, which I'd want eventually anyway to obviously get rid of the wind noise when I'm recording. But the microphone itself is actually broke. So I have recently tried to like blow out and see if there's any dust in there, and quite a bit of dust came out, and I don't know if maybe that's what was causing it. So I'm going to see if that fixes it. But because I didn't really know it was broken throughout that time, I just ended up then having a couple of months worth of footage and not really knowing what to do. So I am really grateful that people have still watched the episodes. It's risky putting them on because I feel like, I know I'd do it. You might get one person might click on the channel, see a badly put on video, and just assume that it's like I just couldn't be bothered to edit it and stuff. But it's really difficult to edit out the noise when it's broken throughout. Like a slight move and it makes a, you've seen. So I hope that it doesn't cause too much damage that I've put them episodes on, but definitely the one that was titled something about blowing old ghosts into the sea or whatever I titled it. I'd visited back where I was last January, and obviously I'm saying a bit about it at the end of the video, and I wanted to put it on while I was there. And maybe what I should have done was just re-explain and then try and put some photos from it or something over the top. The next episode that's coming on, I've I've tried to do it a little bit differently. So I I've kind of got the footage and then I'm kind of talking over it the best I can. So I think hopefully that there won't be many more episodes where the audio quality is really bad. And another reason I haven't really been filming much recently is because I don't want to film loads of dodgy audio. So I have started recording quite a bit on my phone. So yeah, moral of that story is should be the last really bad episode, and one of them I maybe shouldn't have put on because it is quite bad, and it just so happened that YouTube really pushed the episode. Well, the few before actually, they got quite high compared to what some of my other ones get, and that means a lot of people will have clicked on, seen some bad audio, and then gone, "I'm not watching this guy again." So hopefully it weren't too damaging. We'll have to wait and see. But because you guys who still watched it and persevered with it still kind of kept it alive, so I'm really grateful for that. And nobody's given me a really hard time about how bad they are, so that's good. So that's a bit of an explanation about them. I've just been editing before I started this live. The next episode I was trying to get on today, but it'll probably now be on tomorrow. But I just wanted to explain that I am putting quite a bit of effort into editing them. I feel like I don't want anyone to think I'm just clicking them off and I don't really care that they're bad. Anybody I've been telling people, anyone who will listen to me, like I don't know what to do with them, but we've put them on. What I might do if I come across any more where there's the case that there's the really bad audio over me explaining something, what I'll probably do is I'll make an episode out of it without that part in where I briefly explain it, and then I'll probably add a free tier on a different website, something like Patreon, where I can just add a tier where you don't need to pay to join it, and I'll put the extended version with the bad audio on there for anybody who does want to watch it all. Because I'm sure some people did want to watch it all, but then it's obviously the risk of then anybody new thinking, I'm not watching this. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. So I've had a few comments, so I'll go through them and then get back to it. So Gary, 20-degree daytime down to 14 degrees night here in Portugal. 14 on a night. I never know what it is here. The last week's been a lot warmer than the week before, but it definitely got quite cold the week before. But I was going to say good job then. Doesn't sound good. You should like you're doing a better job than me. But to sail from the UK down to across the Bay of Biscay and stuff, like I'm really happy you got there. Okay. So and thanks again because I might end up not needing it now, but I was telling a friend the other day that one of my subscribers on YouTube is going to help me. He's got like a sale and just when I'm saying it, I'm like, is this really happening? It's because it's not crazy, but just nice. And yeah, I'm glad you're there and you're safe and didn't get attacked by any orcas. Sailor Boy number one, who did the filming last episode? It was a friend, so somebody I'd met who was over by Cannes. So they came along for the sail. Still did all the sailing on my own. Um, Do I want to tell this story? Don't know if they're watching. Anybody, whenever I have them on the boat and I tried to get somebody to steer for me, and it's coming up in the next episode, and you tried to get someone to keep the boat in line while you adjust the sail, and then you end up finding it's really difficult to keep the boat in line to someone who's never steered a boat before. But the person who helped me film that episode came along, did a bit of, well, held the camera for me. It was quite nice because it meant I could get footage that I can't normally get on my own. And I watch other sailing channels. I don't watch too many where there's two people anymore because I just get a bit envious. So, um, but you obviously can get better footage when someone's there to like just follow you with the camera for a bit. So yeah, it was a friend, and the same friend has more than helpful. Like been to the helped me to go to the shop and stuff. So it is good when you meet people that help you. So yeah, that's who helped me film the last episode, and the next one that's coming up too. Yeah, I really liked watching you in action. That episode, I was quite aware when I was making it. I was like, it 8 hours it took me to edit that, and it probably shouldn't. But basically, I've got to now export the files because my SSD drive broke. So now that the SSD drive's broke, that's why all of the episodes have now been put on in only HD. And I do really want to get back to being putting them on in 4K because I still have to do the same process anyway, and I have to actually put the episodes through without being able to edit it, then export it once. But because it's exporting the 4K files, but putting them down to just HD files, and then edit it, so I had to just go through and snip all the parts and then try my best to kind of sort the lighting out. So you might have noticed in the middle it does a little effect, and then there's a bit of a filter on the end. I don't really like to use filters, but it was the only way I could make it not look as grainy. But yeah, I'm aware that them sort of episodes aren't for everyone. If anybody didn't watch it and wants to just do me a favor and let it play out for the watch hours because we're actually getting close to tier one of YouTube, I would appreciate it. But no, I get them episodes out for everyone, and especially when it's 20 minutes of no talking. But at the same time, I think some people do like them episodes. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Where was I on my list? Episode explanation. So yeah, on that as well, the episodes obviously I've just been trying to catch up. So I'm amazed at how much time has gone in. I don't know I'd have ever caught up if I didn't end up being in port like I am now, because in the last 2 months I've probably spent most of my time, well, a lot of my time doing that, and I don't know how I'd have got them on trying to do it at Ancroft battery. I never realized it was going to be quite as hard to get the videos edited once I left for Anchor that first time. But yeah, like on a night time, I I quite enjoy editing the videos on a night time if I'm not doing all else. It would have passed a lot of them evenings at Anchor, but it's always really hard to have enough battery to do it. But it's, I've been posting some days I've posted daily, and then some days there's been a bit of a break in between, but quite a lot over the last month, which I don't know how I'd have caught up if I was just carrying on going. So it's quite good to get caught up, and I want to be caught up so that I can actually start to put the videos on as and when people are, sorry, talking rubbish there. So I can put the videos on closer to real time so that I can rely on you guys for help and advice and stuff, and it's not something that happened before. And I was a bit skeptical about putting another real time update on because, for example, when I posted to say that the real time update after I'd had the sailing disaster and broke the rigging, The very next episode that came on from the actual episodes was me talking about pirate rigging. I watched the video of me going, a lot of people would say not to do this, but it all looks like it's working. And then everyone's probably watching thinking, yeah, but we know what happens, you idiot. So, yeah, it would be nice to be caught up and then we can all go from there. And then I can start putting once a week on a scheduled time so everyone knows when the episodes are coming on. Sorry. Right. Boat update. So it's been like not stressful, but quite long-winded, I guess. And I need to be careful not to sound ungrateful in any way because I'm definitely not like such a lifeline. But for me, I won't go greatly into detail about how it came about because it will obviously come up in the episodes. But basically, it had come about this opportunity, and it kind of like changed everything I was thinking what I needed to do. So I'd already seen the boat on an advert back when I was in here, which is coming up in the episodes, but about a month before I even got here, and it was on Le Bon Coin, Le Bon Coin, the good coin in English. It's a bit like a sort of French eBay, and it was on for €2,900. And I was looking at the pictures, thinking, "Oh man, if that is for 2,900, I dread to think what I'd be able to get for mine because it just looked in really good condition." And then by then, although I hadn't broken the boat, I was aware that it wasn't ideal, was it? I'd had a Genoa that was too small because it's the only one I could find, and the engine I've had issues with all year. And then this one was saying the engine runs perfectly, the sails are in good condition, and the pictures of the interior just looked immaculate. So at the start, it had made me feel like pretty crap because I'm thinking, what's mine worth? And I'm stuck with it, and I've put time and effort and all of my money, and it's basically all I've got is that boat really, and the things on it, which are mostly boat related things. So I did back at the start of all of this think, well, I've got this boat with some value in it, so if everything goes wrong, I can sell the boat. Then it's got to a point of realizing actually I really wouldn't get much for the boat, and I'm going to do an episode about that because it's when you're looking at getting one, if anyone's looking to get one, if you can make sure you can get a boat in good condition for very little money. And then, like the one when I got it, didn't really have any navigation equipment or anything else. And looking back, I could have got free. I could have got a free boat probably, but I'll go more on about that when it comes to it in an episode. But basically, then it's become that boat's for free, and I've ended up in the same port where it is. And I didn't really believe them when they was telling me. I was like, I've seen it for sale for 2,900, so why would it now be free? So it does have one big problem, and I'll get onto it. And like, yeah, I will tell you about the big problem because then if I don't, it's my own fault if it goes wrong. But it does have one big problem, but I'll get to it. Um, so I'm like, okay, and it was like it has a problem, but we've been on and the engine is absolutely perfect and everything else. So I was like, okay, can I have a look? Because it's the exact same model boat as mine. And they was like, well, it's the same as yours. And I was like, yeah, but then I had to tell the port that actually I was stuck. And I'd actually recorded an episode at the time saying I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. There's not really any money in the boat. I'd struggle to get rid of it. Um, yeah, so that's the situation I was in. So I told them all about that, and it was like, okay, You can go have a look. Then I think I got no, yeah, then I got a bit poorly. Then the guy weren't here for a bit. So there was about 5 days in the middle where I'm like waiting to go and have a look at it. And that's I've seen the pictures and I just want to go have a look and kind of in my head I'm thinking, if I can go have a look and it's good and it's free, I have a lifeline and then I can start working on what I need to do now, which we'll get onto because I need a bit of advice from everyone on that. But so then yeah, 4 days passed ish, and then the guy got back in. I went to see him. He was like, "Do you want to go have a look then?" And went to go have a look, and I was a bit skeptical of going to look without it being finalized because I didn't, and that's what ended up happening. I went to have a look, opened the hatch, went inside, and was just looking at the interior, thinking, "What a waste of money I've." And obviously, there's not an opportunity that's everywhere, but there is quite a lot out there for boats where they're in okay condition. You're always probably going to have to do something, but again, I'll do an episode about it. But I'm looking inside around, thinking it's in so much better condition than mine. And then what I did do is I wrote a list. Don't have it with me because I was recording an episode called 99 Problems, where I was going around my boat, literally just showing all the problems that you don't really see on camera all the time. Um, and I've never actually gone into all of the problems. You might see the big ones like the engine keeps breaking down and the rigging is obviously a huge problem. But I'm going around and I'm saying how much the stuff's going to cost and I'm totting it up and just explaining basically how I've got no real hope of doing it. Um, and actually, last summer, the boat held me back from what I was actually doing. If the boat was in the condition this one was in, I'd have had a lot more luck selling boat trips and stuff. But if you remember, I was halfway through kind of fixing things on the deck and trying to make it look a bit better. And then some boat trips came. In the end, I got a tin of top lack and just went over it all and kind of undid a lot of the work I did, really. But just for the sake of selling trips because I needed to make some money. That's what I was saying. But yeah, I've gone in, looked inside, and it's in like great condition. All the time and work I spent like trying to get the veneer off mine because it was all damaged and moldy and stuff. This one inside, just nice. Um, and I won't go into loads of details about all the things because there will be an episode on it, as I keep saying, and then keep going on about it. Then, because I'd recorded all the problems on mine, I went and checked the rigging. I went and checked the keel bolts. The boat was bone dry everywhere. And then one of the guys had told me, yeah, the engine works perfect, but it's quite rusty. So I'm expecting like a really rusty engine. And again, I'll do an episode. Well, I'll do it in the episode. But I pulled the hatch off, and I was firstly surprised how easily the hatch came off for the engine or the steps. Because in mine, I have to like force it. It's all warped so it doesn't fit properly. It just slid out nicely. And I'm looking at the engine, and there was a bit of rust, a little bit, and I'm thinking, comparable to mine. Mine's corroded. I've had that water leak. It's an absolute mess. Um, so yeah, the engine was good. As I say, the boat was bone dry, and I checked all the deck, and it had been raining quite a bit before I went to look. And in my boat, there's quite a bit of water that comes in from the rain, which yeah, ideally there wouldn't be, but I just haven't got round to doing it. And actually, the tow rail down the side on either side, it's never been properly attached, and it's one of them ones where it's riveted through, but then some of the rivets are stuck, and it'd be quite a big job to get it all off, seal it all, and put it back down. So I just haven't really got round to it. But because of that, quite a lot of water leaks through where there's the missing rivets, and then the deck as well on mine. There's some not massively because compared to other boats I've seen, some spongy areas. So I went the whole way around the deck checking how solid it was. and anybody who's got a boat might be able to agree with this, or I might just be talking rubbish. The minute I stood on it, I just felt really strong, and it just felt really strong. Obviously, there's one problem that I'm going to get onto, but looked around everything. Two more minor things, but things that'd be really hard to ever get fixed on mine. The anchor locker hatch has never been there, and at one point I tried to experiment with putting a bit of wood over. It looked a bit rubbish, and because I used the boat to try sell boat trips, it did actually get listed on something that's called Click and Boat. I don't know if you have the same thing wherever you're watching from. And it was fine. They'd put the advert on, but all of these little things, if I'm then selling it on there, people are going to get on, and the anchor hatch is missing. The cockpit seats aren't secure, and it's actually got some crack underneath. So you've always got to be really careful where you stand. And then the back bit in the cockpit, the furthest at the back, that's been cracked since I got it. So I've gone over it with some wood. And again, it just looks a bit shoddy, but all of them things are there in place, and just generally the boat was in really good condition. All of the sofa cushions were there. I don't have the original sofa cushions for mine. I actually got some from where I used to work, some old mobile home cushions, and I just tried my best to make them fit. But they were all present and there and in good condition. So then I've looked, gone away, gone back to the port, and was like, yeah, yeah. I thought about the problem, did a little bit of research to see if the problem was fixable, and said yes. And then it was like, okay, we'll call. And then I was waiting for them to call. And then there was like 4 day period of trying to call the guy. And in that time, I'm like, what if he says no? And then a little bit of me was wishing I didn't go look, because as soon as I went back to my boat after on the inside and was looking around at all of the problems, I was a bit like, oh, I just felt worse about it. Anyway, then we did call, and they had a bit of a talk. I'd had too much coffee, and I think I'd had two in quick succession, and I was just stood there thinking, please. Anyway, the answer was a yes. I can have it for free. And I heard the guy from the port, like, I don't know if he'd be watching, probably don't think so, but such a good guy. I heard him telling the guy, like, oh, he does YouTube, like it'd be it'd be really good for him, and like proper selling it for me. So he comes off the phone and he's like, yeah, he said yeah. And I'm like, yes. And then he was like, we'll do the deal in January. And this is the only part where I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I'm not. It's amazing if this can happen. But I'd been building it up and thinking, yeah, and then I can get started. And then obviously now I'm a bit like, don't count your chickens just yet, because anything could change between now and January. And you know what it's like with holidays. It won't be beginning of January. It'll probably be like mid-January. So, and I'll get onto it after of what I've been doing instead. But yeah, it's a yes. It's great. The big problem I'm going to tell you in 1 minute. Um, but then yeah, yeah, we'll do the deal in January. It puts me now a little bit what to do kind of thing. So I can't I can't list mine for sale. And after I've gone on about this, that's the next thing I'll say, because it's what I wanted to ask everyone their advice on. But yeah, so it's a yes, and I think it is a yes. I think the guy's quite serious. The advert's actually not on anymore for it to be for sale. It's not been on for a while. So I think probably what happened is got quite a few time wasters. Um, the guy wants a new boat, and he obviously needs to free up the space. And because of the one problem that would, not necessarily the amount of money it would cost to get fixed, but the time of doing it to then just sell the boat quite cheap anyway, it probably isn't worth it for him. I'll tell you the problem. Where the mast goes through, it's a little bit swollen. So what needs to happen is the mast needs to come off, I've got that problem either boat. So the mast is going to have to come off, and then the area underneath the mast step, it's going to need like grinding out. But I did check the surrounding areas, and I think it's where one bolt goes through. So obviously, I think what's happened is one bolt hasn't been sealed and properly, and then some water has got in and it's warped a little bit, but not even a lot, but a little bit. It's only noticeable because on the inside, it's caused a crack. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't actually know it had happened. You can't really tell from the deck. So I know that's a fairly big problem. And yeah, if I was going to be going and throwing some money at it, maybe I don't know. I don't know. I do know. I've looked around mine and there's a lot more problems than that. And if it's a case of I have one big problem to fix, and I'm sure I'll find other ones along the way, not to the level of problems I've got. To put into perspective, I guess, if I was to have to buy a Genoa, which I know Gary has one in Portugal, but size wise, it might be quite right, but to get a new furler, the right size, and everything else, it's going to cost loads. Whereas either way, a boat, whether it be that boat or my boat, is going to have the mast taken down because it would have to have it taken down in order to fix my furler anyway. So to have one that's got all of its parts and that one problem, which might not be the easiest one to fix, but at the same time, I have a lot of fairly similar problems on mine. Okay, it's not directly underneath the mast, but I have done quite a bit of research about that problem, and I am certain I'd rather have that one problem. It means I can't go sailing right away until I get it fixed, but once that one problem is solved, there's a boat in really good condition. Whereas I'm not really anywhere near it. So someone tell me, someone tell me what you think. If I was in a situation to get a boat without a problem, I would get a boat without a problem. But I am in a fairly desperate situation, I guess. So yeah, just need somebody to tell me it's a good idea. But yeah, that's the situation with the boat. It does have a problem, and until we get to the episode where you see all of the problems I actually have, which I haven't really shown on YouTube before, the big ones you're aware of, even just having a motor that's running perfectly, like, is great. And I can't tell you how nice it was to see the furler attached. And straight away, the actual drum for the furler, I think it's called a drum, mine was like ancient. It's massive, ancient. It didn't turn properly, and this has got quite a nifty sort of nice newish one. Um, I'll get onto it, and I think you'll see when I get to the episodes that it's it's a no-brainer. Really, I didn't really need to write much down. I gave it as thorough check as I now know how to give a boat, which is a lot more than I knew when I looked at mine. When I looked at mine the first time, I'd been on a 26-foot amateur construction where all the inside was bare moldy fiberglass and there was no galley really. It was just a bit of a shell where someone had kind of stuck a bit of wood somewhere that you could rest things on. And the sofa weren't really a sofa, and there was no V berth, and there was no toilet. And going from that to then this, that's what I looked at. But now, having spent some time and actually having to sail and realizing how much things actually cost to repair, I went and I made sure I thoroughly checked everything basically. Obviously, the boat's in the water. Um, Something I will say as well that I keep hearing a lot about is about osmosis. I find that I don't want to argue with people about it, and it's not that I just don't think it's important. And if I was spending loads of money on a boat, I'd maybe be a bit more serious about it. But you still have some life. So I've looked at that, and one person said, "Yeah, but it's going to have osmosis." Mine must be riddled with osmosis. Not been out of the water, I think, for about 15, 20 years probably. I think it's something that in this sort of price range, which is nothing, you can kind of expect some osmosis, and then when it gets to a point where you can get it sorted, you can get it sorted. If you watch some of the sailing channels and they're doing a boat refit from the off, then I get why they're doing it. But at the same time, there's some I've seen where kind of just get caught up on it a little bit. If it's a cheap boat, go out and sail it for a bit and then know if it's the right sort of boat for you. And then, if it is, get the osmosis sorted. This is me now giving advice. I'm not really qualified to. Um, but I just keep hearing it all the time, like osmosis, osmosis, osmosis. And as I say, I've probably got osmosis. So if I was going now and throwing some money into a boat, which I'm not, it'd be something maybe I'd think about. And if it's got osmosis, but the rest of it's in really good condition, then it will be worth getting it taken out and getting the osmosis treatment done. However, if you think of my boat at the minute, which has already not really got any value to it, if I was to now get caught up on the fact it had osmosis and get it taken out of the water and spend months drying it out and then fixing all of them blisters to still have a boat with no value, it just doesn't really make much sense. So if it does have osmosis, which there's a little chance it doesn't, people are just making an assumption that it might, none of you guys, other people, that it might have osmosis because it's an old boat or because it's not been out of the water. But most boats from the 70s, there's a good chance it has osmosis. But I won't go too much on about it 'cause it's something for another episode, I guess. But yeah, comments. Sounds like you're doing the right thing. Happy for you. Doesn't feel too hard of a job. No, and as I say, if the deck was really spongy around the area, I'd be really, really concerned about the fact. But it's not actually entirely certain that it's anything to do with the mast. Like, it could also be that on the inside where the closest part to the mast, it's actually really close to where your head goes underneath to go into the toilet slash V berth. I'd obviously check it thoroughly when it came to it, but it's not like there's a big area where it looks like or feels like anything's rotten. So yeah, I think it's one big job. Obviously, I won't sail until I know what's going on with it. But I mean, having the engine working will be one thing. I've never really been able to run my engine full, so I can then still, in theory, get to somewhere if I've got to get there with the engine. So I think it is the right thing to do. I'm happy to come help, but I am no expert. Me neither. But I think I think what I again I've got to be careful sometimes because like I don't know who watches and the guys from the port have obviously and they've just got my best interest in this really. They've no, it's hard to know what to say or not. Um, yeah, they've got my best interest, so they're obviously like get it taken out of water, take the mast down. I have looked at a few alternatives to having to take boat out of the water to take the mast down. But I will take the boat out of the water to take the mast down. Uh, it's a grind out and epoxy it job. Yeah, I think so. I'm I'll be able to tell once I de-step the mast, and then you've got like the mast foot. I'll be able to tell through them bolts. And to be honest, I might not actually have to unstep it once I can look where the bolts are. So I probably will need a person slash two people when it comes to it, because I'd probably check that before I go pull the mast down. Um, because until them bolts come out, it's quite hard to tell what's going on underneath. So, but I think yeah, probably an grind it out and epoxy it job. And actually, going back to my boat for a second, there's so many areas that I need to grind out and epoxy. So to only have to do it in one place rather than in various places will actually be quite good. Like my cleat at the back, one of them is absolutely destroyed underneath. My rigging is also destroyed. The running rigging, yeah, running rigging, and the bow rail, yeah, bow rail bent in a little bit, so you can't actually get tight properly anymore. So, and two or more of the stainless steel poles that support the running rigging through the deck, same sort of thing. That needs to come out and needs to be grinded and re-epoxied. So to only have to do it in one place rather than in about four places, quite nice, I guess. Um, yeah, let me know if you have any more questions about the boat, and I will answer. Will you get on with your Atlantic crossing once you get the boat sorted? I've struggling the right word, but for the last like 2 months or when the boat broke the last time, and actually throughout the summer when I weren't making as much progress as I wanted, that is really how I thought this would go. I thought I'd spend a bit of last winter getting the boat sorted, and then I would spend the summer doing some boat trips and actually sailing around and practicing and all the rest of it, in time to then towards the winter head over. I also thought I'd financially be better off than I am, because I thought that I found ways by now a bit better to be able to earn money remotely. I thought there'd be more work and stuff going in places like Antibes or last winter doing some boat work, and then obviously again coming up in an episode a bit more about that. But it none of it was as easy as I thought it was going to be. Maybe so. I thought I'd get into Antibes and it'd be quite easy to, find some odd jobs. I thought I'd be able to make a lot more money than I did during the summer. As I say, then when the condition of the boat was the way it was quite difficult to do the boat trips. I ended up turning down some boat trips. In an ideal world, if I could, and a lot of people would disagree with doing this, but if at the start of last year, if financially I could have like taken out all of the money that I earned at the start of the year so that I could have got the boat ready all in one rather than trying to do it bit by bit. And something I'd say to anybody who's maybe looking at buying a boat, if you're in a position to have the money first there, because the minute you're trying to do it bit by bit, as and when you earn a bit of money, it's difficult. And because I never earned the amount I imagined I might have earned, I I didn't then actually end up sailing. The Genoa broke. I ended up stuck for quite a while. You've seen it all. So because of all of that, I didn't do as much sailing as I thought I was going to be doing. Honestly, I thought I'd be like sailing around the Mediterranean during the summer, like Italy, Greece, Corsica, and that sort of stuff would have put me in a position to then go and do it. The more problems I uncovered with my boat, the more I realised no way couldn't sail to Corsica in the boat the way it is. So yeah, now I'd struggle for time, and I've not been able to sail as much as I'd hoped to have. If if tomorrow I could get that boat, for example, and if then miraculously I came across enough money within the next month, well, week, 2 weeks, to get that one problem sorted, give it a thorough inspection. I knew the rigging and everything was okay. I could set off in that direction, which is probably what I would do anyway. Um, However, at the risk of losing some of you, I'd probably need to look at spending next summer, maybe doing a bit of an extension to what I've done this summer, but better. Um, because yeah, if I went and set off across the Atlantic in December, even if now this boat could potentially do it, and I knew everything was safe on it, and I would have the practice of doing a few crossings on the way down to the Canary Islands, then I don't know, I feel like I really want to do it. So then, knowing I'm not doing it, and the thought of another summer in the Med, I struggle with the idea of that because I didn't necessarily enjoy this one as much as I maybe should have done or thought I would have done. But I do keep telling myself I need to make sure the next summer I'm thriving a little bit more than I did this summer. So the first step would be to get a boat that's more ready to do boat trips. And if I had a boat, the interior of mine was a real problem for doing the boat trips as well, because it just when you've got paying people on the boat, you kind of want everything to look all right. Ideally, I could have fit more people on because there were times I had to turn some people away. Um, and really, I need to be in a position where during the key months of next summer, I can earn. The plan maybe is to get the boat sorted enough, make it over to the Balearic Islands, and I think I'd quite like to get there as early as possible, so I've got a bit of time to make some connections, and then when summer kicks in, go hell for leather, try earn as much money as possible, and next winter do the crossing. And I really, 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 really want everyone to know that I'm not just saying it to try and drag another year on. I really wish I was going this winter, but obviously, and I am maybe daft enough to, but yeah, there'll be more about it all coming up on an episode. Keep saying that. I have loads of episodes in reserve waiting to catch up, but yeah, I know there's loads of sailing channels that start off with I'm going to sail across, and then they don't, and then eventually they end up like going and doing something completely different. I think the fact I'm still here, I'm taking it as far as I can possibly take it. If this potential lifeline didn't come along, I was still staying put until and trying everything. So to give you an example, I spent the last 2 days carving a piece of wood. I've never carved in my life, and I was thinking, what if I could carve some stuff? Because I keep seeing in the shops locally, people just making stuff out of little bits of driftwood. And I thought I'd give it a go. So I got a sharp knife. And actually, the results I'll show you in a short in the next coming days when I finished it, but it's pretty cool. But I'll show you when I get to it. But it's just me trying to find any ways I can to earn money while still living on the boat, because I think a lot of people gets to the winter, and because they kind of still set up life, whether it be in the UK or wherever they live, they can go chip into that a little bit, but I can't really do that. And if I went and did that after the summer, I do think if I then ended up really comfortable, would that end up just being it? So I'm going with it as long as I can. But I do hope that next winter I can. And I'm having to come to terms myself that I'm not going this winter. But I need to be a bit more financially secure before I can do it. So who knows what will happen in the next month though. So I don't even dare to cross Biscay with my boat. I haven't replaced through holes or rigging, and I have no AIS, but I have a life raft. uh, yeah, same. It's easy to say it, isn't it? But I guess the best way I can put it is the thought of doing it, although it's a bit scary. It's also really emotional. Just imagining after everything that's happened, doing it and getting there. So that kind of, I think I'm committed enough to doing it. Yeah, I'd be scared. And actually find that the longer I stay in a port, the scarier some of them stuff that happens when you're out there become because you're not out there. So sitting nice and calm and comfortably in the port now, when you see the strong wind and the waves coming from the south, and there's been times I've been out while it's been rough and I've been trying to find somewhere to anchor when a mistral was coming or whatever. Um, and I need to not get too complacent because maybe I'll get too scared to go back out there. But yeah, it is scary out there. I think if you're not scared of the sea, that's when you have more problems. Because the times I was a bit blasé and not scared is actually probably when I had problems. So, and a life raft, I don't have one. I sometimes see like really cheap ones that pass the sell by date. It's going to sound stupid, but I then just think sometimes, would that be better than having none at all because I can't afford to pay the 1,200 or whatever it is for a life raft? So if I ended up in a situation where I needed to use the life raft and I had the used one I bought that was past its sell by date, there's a small percentage chance that it's going to work rather than the 0% chance if I just didn't have one at all. But I'm sure either way, being stuck out in a life raft not fun. I know it. Yeah, I don't have AIS either. It's one of them, innit? There's all of these things that you see the other sailing channels have, and they're all really expensive. So again, another reason I need to earn some money to get the important things. But I do really want to show that I can do that while living on a boat, and I need to get onto something and not forget to say it after. I don't have a life raft either, but I tend to not think about it too much. Yeah, it's the best. It's the best way. Got the dinghy. Any news on the pirate flag and bandana? Uh, I designed the flag. There's no, I can show you one. Is the one day I'm going to get really good at these, so I can show in the background. I designed it. I just can't find anywhere that can print them at a decent price. I think they were going to cost 15 to get printed. Um, so by the time you add anything to 15, it's like it's still then quite expensive for anyone who wants one to buy one. You know, even if I put them up at 20. Um, so I'm trying to find somewhere cheaper. The problem is I can't receive post where I am really. So what ideally I'd do with something like that is I'd just have some and then I could post them, but I can't. And we're doing that obviously. Then I'd have to buy some bulk ones, but because it's print on demand, um, no, I haven't found any solution of getting it printed yet. And I've not looked into the bandana yet, but probably would just use the same design as the flag. Um, that all of that stuff's just taking a little bit of a backseat at the minute because I've spent quite a lot of time doing that like boat ocean themed clothes thing. I haven't given up on it. I need to be in a situation money wise where the other things money's coming in so that I can put a bit of money into it because it's never really going to work without me putting any money into it. But I haven't given up on it because I actually spent quite a lot of time doing it. But it's one of them things, a bit like YouTube, where it's quite hard to get the stuff to be seen sometimes. Um, but yeah, I looked on most of the websites like Vistaprint don't do them. I just couldn't find anywhere unless you was buying in bulk that would do it easily. And yeah, then 20, if it was 20 euros, it's quite a lot. You'd have to add postage onto the top of it. So I just felt like you guys would be paying a fairly big amount for something and you'd be doing it to help me. And yeah, surely, obviously, a fiver works, but I just didn't feel it was worth it for you lot, to be honest. Um, but I will keep looking, see if I can find somewhere that can do them. And actually, I could still put them on if someone wants to get one. Um, then cool. Uh, I do have AIS. I would not be without it now. I imagine it's really, really handy. I wouldn't mind having it. I think I kind of have every. I think my my actual chart plotter that I found in the bin at Frasier's Port. If you get all of the things for it, it can kind of act as a boat computer. Really, it's got all of the things. You just then need to get the separate parts, so like the receiver, but it has like the display for it and stuff. So it maybe is something I could get sorted quite not without having to spend loads and loads of money. But like everything, I kind of just wait for something to arrive. I didn't have paddles for months, and then I've now borrowed some paddles, which I'm hoping I don't have to give back because they're expensive to get the right paddle for my dinghy. Um, is the firm going good? Firm, firm, firm. I'm just gonna run to the toilet, but yeah, firm like the clove thing. I'll be back. 2 seconds. The store. It's not done anything really. It's hard in it sometimes because I put quite a lot of what motivation, good intention maybe into it, and then it's not really done anything for me yet. But I'm not going to give up on it, and I'm not going to give up on doing the designing as well. I've recently changed how I do the thumbnails and stuff because I've always done a bit of graphic design. And then when I started doing this, I just used to use the video editor and put a bit of text over it. But then recently I've started actually doing some where I've put some actual time into making the thumbnails. So what I might do as well is put some adverts out there where I make up some mock thumbnails, and then there's plenty of YouTube channels out there might pay a fiver per thumbnail or something, which might just slowly generate a bit of income. With the logos, I obviously put that I'd do a few logos for free, and two of the four I did you, and then I did one for some other people that they were quite happy with it, and then the other two just didn't even really reply when I sent the thing back, and I'd put quite a lot of time and effort, and I put on the message back saying like, if you need anything changing, let me know, because I was only going off a very limited description of what they wanted, and then I sent them back. One of them just gave me a thumbs up reaction, which I'm just gonna say it pissed me off because like it's not even words. I just it was just a and then yeah, try not to swear on it. I've just done it, but it did because I was doing it for free, and it still took a bit of time and effort. And I think they obviously didn't like what I'd come up with the first time, which is fine. And if they'd told me they didn't, I would have altered it because I just wanted to get a few on there so then I could advertise a few more. But then there was that one, and then one of the others, I went with two designs. They were both pretty good. One went pretty much off what they said they wanted, and then one was a bit of a modification on it, and they didn't reply. So I'm gonna carry on doing that, but that just stopped me a little bit because I just spent loads of hours doing something and then didn't really hear anything back. Could you display your clothing in chandlers and surf shops? Recently, I've been. It's a Christmas market, and they've got a few stores on. And I was talking to one of the stores there, not about the clothing, but about some of the wood things I was on about, which is something I'd really like to get into because it'd be really basically I've started with something and I've taken this branch that's laying on the floor, got a carving knife, and all I had was the carving knife really. And after some messing around, I've always wanted just a mermaid at the front of the boat, like the old fashions, but albeit a small one, and it's not going to actually be useful in any way. But I just think you never see them. I personally, I just think they're really cool. So I'm making it because after what happened with the other boat, I was like, well, I can't do anything with the boat now, so I'm going to just make a mermaid that will just attach it to where the bow rail goes, just on one of the legs. It's not big. It's not going to add loads of weight. Anyway, I just had to play around, see if I could carve it, and it's actually going really well. To the point that I think I'm going to mix up a few other bits and I'm going to put them on marketplace and see if they sell. But a lady I was talking to at the market who has this little store where they're selling some of the like little hand carved things, and they sell for quite expensive because tourists will just pay it because they're on holiday and they see like a little bird house made out of little driftwood or whatever. So I'm gonna give that a go. And I said to the woman I did it, and how does she normally do it? And she says, well, normally if she finds something, she'll buy some in. So I'm gonna make some. I've got a store a few towns away from where I am, and then again, apart from my post issue, it would be a good idea, yeah, to get a few of the t-shirts printed off and try and sell them, yeah, in some of the chandeliers slash surf shops and stuff. Even if I leave a few in a few places, and because they can add quite a bit to the price as well. So like if it's just a random boat themed t-shirt, like I have one that I've not finished doing where it's from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Nobody's gonna watch this, Ali. I'm just talking about clothes. And they're saying cowabungas like on the shell of the turtle at the back, and it looks pretty cool. I've not finished it yet, but it's the sort of thing that if it was in a tourist shop um, somewhere, it might cost me say 15 to make. At the minute, I think I'd probably make around about 6, 7 if it's sold. But in the certain shops, yeah, they could add a bit more. So it's something I'll look into, but it really is something for the future because I need to sort out, now finances, and I'm not in a position to be paying for adverts and paying for the hosting of the website and stuff. So it's not something that I've given up on, but it is something that's going to have to hopefully be something that I can push further on when I have a bit more money to put into it. Did I have any other updates? I think the main one was the boat, which I've told you about. Another thing that, if anybody's still watching, for um, I'm a bit unsure on two things because a lot of the time I feel like I'm not really doing what most sailing channels are doing, but I do then do quite a lot of things where I'm stuck having to like survive on a small budget. And I was wondering recently if some of that would be better as a separate channel, because I don't know if it puts some people off that are looking for a sailing channel, and YouTube obviously shows it people looking for sailing channels. But if I think of like the last month or what we've just been talking about and stuff, I don't know if it would be better if that was something else, and then anybody here who wanted to watch that as well could obviously just subscribe to the other channel. But stuff like living a month off €50, I'm not sure anyone's here to see that. Whereas there might be people out there that are looking would see that, but this obviously comes across as a sailing channel, so I don't know. What do you think? I'm not. I'm not sure. It is hard because I see other sailing channels that I try and not judge the growth of this channel compared to any others. Like, for example, started around about the same time as one really popular, um, fairly new sailing channel, and I think they're on about 12,000 subscribers, and I'm still pushing for the 1,000. So I sometimes wonder if a lot of that is because a lot of the time the episodes are me talking about life and what I'm trying to do to survive rather than what I'm doing sailing. So I don't know if it'd be better if I had a separate one that that sort of stuff was on. This one then might not have as much content, but the content it did have would just be sailing content. Yeah, I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, so I'm not too sure. I think going forwards, what I will start doing is when I get back to being caught up, I will have like the traditional sort of episode where it kind of summarizes what has happened in the week, a bit like most YouTube channels. And then what I'll probably then have is like a daily update, which people will know that's going to just be me talking to the camera. But I think some people do like it, but not everyone. So something I really do need to do going into next year is kind of go off what I've learned from this year of doing YouTube, because I do put quite a lot of time into it. So I do obviously want it to work the best it can do. So yeah, that is one thing I've been thinking about. Would it be better if I had a separate channel that went on about life struggles and surviving and that sort of stuff? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I see you as a survival hardcore sailing channel. I see me as a struggling to survive, not sailing much channel most of the time. Obviously, there is sailing, and I think what I want to show is loads of people say it where sailing on a budget. I don't think anyone minds if I negatively say about one of the big ones, but I seen Sailing the Vagabond put a. I saw the title of the video. I tend to really watch, but saw the title of the video was "Sailing on a Budget," and it's like it's just something that quite clickbaity. Isn't it? It's sailing on a budget, and I just wanted to show actually sailing, living on a boat, sailing on a budget. And back where I was at Anchor for most of summer, um, a wise man, a wise man told me, someone who lived on a boat as well, and they just seemed really to know what they were doing. Um, And I was talking to them after they'd seen me wandering around on the deck of my boat, and they was like telling me, "Yeah, but not many people, you've learned how to live on a boat for a year with not really much money, and the stuff that you've learned that isn't sailing is quite valuable." An example is having to learn on a night time to occupy yourself without just being able to watch the TV is quite a big thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure how relevant that is as a sailing channel, but a couple of nights ago I came and I was on the laptop and I was like, what should I do? And I thought about downloading a film, and I was looking through the films, and then in the end I just thought, you've not done it now. It's almost like you don't need to, so maybe you just don't. It's In the end I ended up watching The Sailor. Have you seen that documentary about Paul Johnston? I think I've watched it about 8 times. It gives me a weird feeling. It's like you kind of want that to do the things he's done, but then at the same time, you don't want how he ends up, if that makes sense. You are a beginner going out of your comfort zone. That's hardcore. Yeah, maybe. I think sometimes I'm just silly. It's going to take quite a bit from the first time. I will do it, but I think the accident I had the last time was actually, I think it knocked me a lot more than I've let on, because it was actually quite scary. But yeah, 23:11. Yeah, so probably wrap it up there. Yeah. Well, thanks, Gary and Sailor Boy number one, and anybody else who popped in and out. 3 likes. Someone else was watching. A few people, I think, was watching. Yeah, it was a spur of the moment live. I think when I get caught up and stuff and the episodes start to make a bit more sense and the editing gets a bit better, hopefully get back to some higher numbers. I hope. Hopefully everyone won't abandon me because of the bad videos, but I don't think so. And I don't know if watching or seen, but tonight's wine is sponsored by Paul, who supported yesterday or the day before on Patreon and told me to buy a wine. So although there's probably things I should be spending my money on other than wine, I'm just doing what I was told. So on that note, thanks to everyone who watched, and hopefully the next episode will be on tomorrow. They'll keep coming on pretty much fairly regularly. The YouTube algorithm doesn't like it, but it's better all round if it's all caught up, and then we can make some good episodes from all of the things we've learned. And yeah, so good night, cheers, and I will keep going as long as is possible. So I'll see you next time.